With Dawn of Majesty's imminent release, the first wave of support for a new TCG exclusive archetype was revealed. According to the website's description, we knew it would be an insect type deck that could link climb into a Link 4 insect monster, but until a few days ago we didn't actually know any of the archetype's members, except Beetrooper Scout Buggy. Now this first monster seemed quite good, but until we saw the rest of the archetype, we couldn't really tell if it would be enough. After all, insects are one of the types that have been the most lacking in support for a long time now, so they really needed something good to make them work well. Now that we've seen the first wave of this support though, I'm happy to announce that it does actually make insects work. That's right, there's finally a decent insect deck. Now you may not know this about me, but I've always liked insects, quite a lot. So of course I'm happy to see insects finally working in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I immediately started putting together a deck with the support that we know. And in this video, I'll be showing the results. So first of all, the new cards. Beetrooper Scout Buggy was the first one to be revealed. Like quite a few of the cards in this new archetype, while it's on the field you are locked into purely insects, but that won't matter since the deck I'm going to show you only has insects anyway. Its effect is that on summon, you can special summon a Beetrooper Scout Buggy from your hand, deck or graveyard, and it's a hard once per turn, so it's a simple +1 on summon. As soon as you summon it, you get another monster, and since it's another copy of itself, and they're both level 3, you can easily make a rank 3 Xyz, like Cicada King, which is a very decent piece of insect support. The second monster is Beetrooper Scale Bomber. Its effect is that as soon as you summon another insect monster, this one also summons itself from your hand. So having this in your hand is just a simple free extender, and it will make link climbing a lot easier. As an extra effect, when an opponent's monster activates an effect, you can tribute an insect monster to destroy that monster. Usually you'll probably be using this monster just for materials to make the link monsters, but if you happen to have one around at the end of the turn, it's an extra distraction effect, so it's really not the worst, especially considering it can just tribute itself. Finally, their third main deck monster is Beetrooper Sting Lancer. During the main phase, it can summon itself as a quick effect by targeting one insect monster in your graveyard and any opponent's monster in their graveyard, and then place both of those monsters on top of the deck. So going second, it's kind of a free special summon, since it's incredibly likely your opponent will have at least one monster in their graveyard by that point. But also, if you get hand trapped by something like an Ash Blossom, that does count as a monster for you to return, so you can just summon it that way as well. The reason you'd want to summon it is because, if it's normal or special summoned, you can add a Beetrooper spell or trap from your deck to your hand. This makes it an essential part of the combo because it can search these two cards. The first one is Beetrooper Formation, their field spell. It lets you target a Beetrooper monster in your graveyard, and then special summon it, but it can't attack that turn, and also you lose life points equal to its original attack. Now this isn't the main card you'd search was the level 7, but if you really need an extender, and you can summon it before the end of your combo somehow, that could be something to search. You'd usually use this card to bring back the Link 2 to climb into the Link 4 even faster, but if you manage to get a Beetrooper Scout Buggy in the graveyard without it having used its effect, this can revive it, and then it will get its effect to special summon another Beetrooper Scout Buggy. As a bonus, if one of your insect monsters is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to summon a Beetrooper Token, which is an Earth Insect level 3 monster with 1000 attack and defense. Of course it only does that once per turn. Since most of their links are generic, it being a token doesn't really matter at all, since you can just use it to make their link monsters anyway, so it's really just a free monster if one of yours gets destroyed. Finally, the card that you would search was the level 7 is their counter trap, Beetrooper Fly and Sting. What it does is that, when a monster your opponent controls activates an effect, while you control a Beetrooper, you can negate the activation and destroy it. Counter trap, negate and destroy that's searchable is already really good. But as a bonus, during your end phase, if it's in your graveyard and you control an insect monster with 3000 or more attack, so basically if you control their Link 4 that we'll be getting to soon, you can banish an insect monster from your graveyard to set this card. Now you can only use one effect or the other, not both in one turn, but still that just means you can recycle this card, which is a really good effect for a counter trap that strong. And since you search it as part of your main combo, you'll basically just always have this card in rotation to negate something every one of your opponent's turns and then set it back during yours. Now we're on to their extra deck, where they have a Link 2 and a Link 4. Their Link 2, Beetrooper Armor Horn, takes any 2 insect monsters. While locking you into insects, it does have the effect to give you an extra normal summon of an insect monster, and also, if it's in the graveyard, you can banish 3 insect monsters from your graveyard to special summon this card back to the field, but it's then banished when it leaves the field. Having an incredibly generic link 2 that gives you an extra normal summon is huge for insects. A bunch of them do things upon normal summon, or are just really good monsters that don't have a way of special summoning themselves. So just getting an extra summon of basically any insect monster from your hand is amazing for insects. The fact that you can link it away, and then it can just summon itself back, is really good to let you link climb faster, and it makes link climbing into your link 4 incredibly easy, especially because you can even bring this card back once with the field spell if you happen to draw it. Finally, the boss monster of the archetype is Giant Beetrooper Invincible Atlas. A link monster is 3000 attack, which is relevant because that's the amount of attack you need on an insect monster to be able to set your counter trap back. If this card has 3000 or less attack, so basically if it hasn't gained any attack, it can't be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. It also has the effect where you can tribute an insect monster to either special summon a Beetrooper monster from your deck, or to gain 2000 attack until the end of this turn. So basically your main combo is to link climb into this, and another insect monster to tribute in order to summon Beetrooper Sting Lancer. You'll then search your counter trap. You'll then at the very least have a 3000 attack monster that can't be targeted or destroyed, and a counter trap to back it up. Then if you survive until the next turn, you get to boost its attack up to 5000 and try and ATK your opponent. However, that's just a basic thing you can do with pretty much every hand. But luckily you run so many extenders that you can usually do a bit more than that. I'll now show you the deck I've come up with, which tries to summon as much as possible, so that you can make your link 4 and then a few extra things like Cicada King, or one of your secondary boss monsters, which we'll get to at the end. To start with the Beetroopers, you run 3 Scout Buggy, 3 Scale Bomber, and 1 Sting Lancer, then 3 of their field spell and 1 of their counter trap since it's searchable as part of your combo anyway. It then run quite a few Battlewasps, with 3 Twin Body Attacker, 3 Sting the Poison, 3 Pin the Bullseye, and 1 Arbalest Rapid Fire. Twin Bow is just a free special summon, it's basically no downside since you only run insects anyway, and it's a level 3 which helps you make Cicada King. Sting the Poison has an effect where when it's normal or special summoned, you get to search any other Battlewasp, so you can search something like Twin Bow or Pin just to be able to special summon something else for free. Or you can search Arbalest Rapid Fire to gain even more advantage out of it. It also has a quick effect where you can tribute an insect monster to target an effect monster your opponent controls, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. It's a bit weird having a negate on a level 2 monster like this, but if you can build your board in a way that leaves this monster around at the end, it is basically just another negate, so it's worth trying to do that during your combos. Pin the Bullseye is another free extender, that just lets you special summon itself as long as you control any other insect monster. And as a little bonus, you can do 200 burn to your opponent. Then finally, Arbalest Rapid Fire has an effect where, when it's normal summoned, you can target a level 3 or lower insect monster in your graveyard, and special summon that monster in defense position. Now before this support, it was really hard to use this effect since you wouldn't really have any insect monsters in your graveyard before using your normal summon, but now thanks to the link 2 you get an extra normal summon, so you can use Sting the Poison to search Arbalest, and then any extender to make the link 2, and then the link 2 can normal summon Arbalest, to then bring back another level 3 from the graveyard. Then you run 2 Digital Bug Cocoon Dancer, which is basically the filler spot of this deck. It will probably be replaced as soon as we get the second wave support in Burst of Destiny, but until then you can run this or one of the extra options I have in the side deck. Basically what it does is that if it's in attack mode, you can put it in defense mode to summon a level 3 insect monster from your graveyard. Since it's also a level 3, it's just a good way to make Cicada King. Now we're on to more generic insect type support. As another generic extender, you run Multiplication of Ants, which basically just turns one insect into 2. The monsters you summon are tokens, but like I said, it doesn't really matter since your link monsters take any insects, including tokens. Then we run 3 Resonance Insect, which is incredibly good in this deck. When it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a level 5 or higher insect monster from your deck to your hand. There's 4 targets for this, one of which is Sting Lancer, which may be worth searching if your opponent has a monster in their graveyard for it to special summon itself. And then I'll go over the other 3 targets soon. It also has the bonus effect that, when it's banished, you can send an insect type monster from your deck to your graveyard, except itself. Since neither of those effects are once per turn, you can actually get them off multiple times, especially the one that searches a level 5 or higher insect monster. Now the monster you send to the graveyard with Resonance Insect's effect is Gokkipole. When it's sent to the graveyard, you can just add a level 4 insect monster from your deck to your hand. When it's sent to the graveyard, you just get to search a level 4 insect monster. Now you could run some normal monsters to try and take advantage of the rest of the effect, but I wanted to avoid running anything too bricky, so instead the one that you'll usually search for this is Aztekipede the Worm Warrior. Aztekipede and Doomdozer are basically a set, and both work the same way. Aztekipede needs to banish one insect from your graveyard to summon itself, and Doomdozer needs to banish 2. They both also have fairly high attack, and mill a card from your opponent's deck as soon as they do battle damage. Thanks to these 2 cards, you have a fairly decent loop as soon as you have Resonance Insect on the field. When it's sent to the graveyard, you add Doomdozer to your hand, and then you summon Doomdozer by banishing it and another monster, and then since it was banished, you get to send an insect monster to the graveyard, so you send Gokipole, you search as Aztekipede, and then Aztekipede can just banish Gokipole to summon itself, so you really gain a lot of advantage out of that loop. Finally, we're onto the Cocoon of Ultra Evolution package. Now this is a fun card that lets you tribute an insect from either field that's equipped as an equip card, and if you do, you can special summon an insect from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. As a bonus, it can banish itself and then shuffle an insect monster back into your deck to draw a card. Now one way people use this card is by using Parasite Paranoid, which as a quick effect, can attach itself as an equip card to a monster and make it an insect type. That monster also can't attack insect monsters, and it negates their effects that would target an insect. If your opponent has a monster, you can just use one of theirs if you also have Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, but usually you'll just be using it for its second effect, which is that when it's sent to the graveyard as an equipped spell, you can special summon a level 7 or higher insect monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. So by attaching it to one of your own monsters, that's a way of getting an equipped spell on one of your monsters in order to then send it with Cocoon of Ultra Evolution. Luckily there's a much more consistent way of doing so, which is in Zector Picophalena. When it's summoned, you can discard a card, then target another insect monster you control to equip any insect monster from your deck as an equip spell. So if you do draw Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, you can then link up into Picophalena, equip something from the deck, and then send that monster as Cocoon of Ultra Evolution to special summon an insect straight from the deck. The 2 best candidates for that are Metamorphosed Insect Queen and Scary Moth. What Metamorphosed Insect Queen does is that, as long as you have another insect on the field, all of your insect monsters can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. Now the Link 4 does already have that protection unless you boost its attack, but it can be good to protect Cicada King, or just the next monster we're about to see. That monster is Scary Moth. When it's on the field, each player can only special summon a monster per turn. So basically it's Winda, stopping your opponent from special summoning more than once during their turn. Thanks to the combination of Parasite Paranoid and Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, there's actually some combos that I'll show you that lets you have both Insect Queen and Scary Moth on the field, basically making it a Winda with 2300 defense that can't be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So pretty difficult to out. Now I'll quickly go over the extra deck. You run 3 of each Beetrooper, and then 2 or 3 Cicada Kings, which is a rank 3 Xyz monster which lets you negate a monster effect by targeting an insect monster and then either gaining 500 defense or changing its battle position. When its battle position is changed, you get to summon an insect monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. So basically it's a monster negate that also summons stuff. You then run a Picophalena, which I was explaining earlier, and it also has the effect where you can target 3 insects in your graveyard and shuffle them back into the deck to draw a card. Finally, you fill your extra spots with a few insect shinobis and some Seraphim Papillons, which don't have particularly good effects, but help you by being extra link monsters, and their effects occasionally come up. Especially Seraphim Papillon, which does let you special summon a level 4 insect monster during your opponent's turn, by removing one of the counters you'll have put on it during your turn if you summon it. Then you can run something like a Digital Bug Corobage, which lets you shuffle back an opponent's defense position monster, and then maybe even something like a Traptrix Alimaris, which can bring back a level 4 monster. So if you make it with Resonance Insect and an Aztekipede, you can then detach the Resonance Insect to bring it back and then get another search of a level 5 or higher insect monster. Then in the side deck I have a few more options that you might consider putting in. There's the Insect Kaijus, Galadra, and also Humongous, which are just searchable Kaijus in the deck, so it's at least worth running them in the side deck in case your opponent has a monster that you just can't out. Primitive Butterfly and Mirror Ladybug are basically just 3 extenders that are also insects, so you might want to run them. I don't, just because they're not level 3, so they don't really help you make Cicada King. Galaxy Worm is a level 3 light insect monster, which is good for making the digital bugs since it summons another copy of itself, but since you need to control no other monsters when you normal summon it, it's kind of tricky to use. You might also want to run Retaliating Sea, It's basically a hand trap where if your opponent uses a spell card that could special summon a monster, you can summon it and then make it so that every card that's sent to the graveyard is banished instead. So it's sort of a hand trap macrocosmos. That's also an insect. It then lets you search an earth insect monster with 1500 or less attack when it goes to the graveyard, so you could search Resonance Insect with this. I'd say this is also worth putting in the side deck, in case you're going up against something that does actually use a bunch of those spell cards. Finally, you could replace Digital Bug Cocoon Dancer with Registrider, since that will let you make something like Corobage or even Rhinoceros more easily. So that's it for the deck profile. Now I'll show some examples of hands and what you can do with them. If you've liked this video so far, remember to hit that like button, and subscribe so that you can see more deck profiles like this in the future. Also remember that we'll be getting a second wave of support for Beetroopers in the future, so I'll make another video about them when that comes out. For this first combo, I want to just show a basic example of the endboards you can make with this deck. When you send Resonance Insect to the graveyard, you get your search of Doomdozer, and then you just summon as much as possible, getting an extra normal summon thanks to Armor Horn. When you banish the Resonance Insect, you send a Gokipole which lets you search an Aztekipede. You then make the Link 4, and then use any level 3s you have remaining to make Cicada King. You then tribute something with your Link 4 to get a Beetrooper Sting Lancer which searches your counter trap. Ending on a board with Scale Bomber's Destruction effect ready to go, the counter traps negate and destroy, and then Cicada King's negate of a monster effect, which will be able to revive a monster from your graveyard as well. The second combo shows what you can do if you actually draw Metamorphosed Insect Queen. You do the combo as usual, sending Resonance Insect and then getting its search off, and then sending Gokipole to get another search. When you summon PK Felena, you discard something to attach Parasite Paranoid from your deck. Then when you link those away into the Link 4, Parasite Paranoid triggers to summon the Insect Queen from your hand. You then keep extending, making a Cicada King, getting the level 7 for the negate, and then ending with the counter trap set, Cicada King's negate ready to go, then Metamorphosed Insect Queen giving protection to all of your insect monsters. Now something fun you can do with Cicada King is to actually negate your own monster. A problem with Seraphim Papillon, the Link 3 in your extra deck, is that you can't actually use its effect to summon a monster the turn you use it. But since it triggers, you can actually just negate it with Cicada King, to then get Cicada King's effect to summon a monster from your graveyard, essentially making it so that you still get to summon thanks to Seraphim Papillon. You then do your combo as usual, ending on the negate and the counter trap. In this replay I want to show you how you can actually use Cocoon of Ultra Evolution to get the Moth and the Insect Queen. With Resonance Insect, you'll search Insect Queen, and then just link climb as much as you can, up to the point where you can make a PK Felena. With its effect, you discard something to attach Parasite Paranoid from the deck, and then when you tribute the monster, Parasite Paranoid triggers to summon Insect Queen from your hand, and summon Scary Moth from your deck. You then get to shuffle 3 monsters back with PK Felena to draw a card, and then 1 more with the Cocoon to draw another card, basically letting you draw 2 more cards after your combo to make sure you're set up for next turn. Your opponent now has to deal with a Winda with protection and destruction immunity, while only having 1 special summon. There are other ways to end on Scary Moth as well, using Cocoon of Ultra Evolution. In this version we just link summon a lot, using Sting to Poison to be able to search an extra monster. And then Beetrooper formation can bring back a Beetrooper Scout Buggy. You can then use the Link 4 to tribute the Link 2 that just brought itself back, to search your counter trap. With these extra monsters you can make a PK Felena, discarding the counter trap to equip a Resonance Insect, and then tribute the monster you equipped with Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, to summon a Scary Moth and send Resonance Insect to the graveyard in the process, triggering its effect since it just needs to go from the field to the graveyard. That searches a Doomdozer, which banishes the Resonance Insect to search another monster, and then during the end phase you get to set the counter trap back, since you have an insect monster with 3000 or more attack, so now you have Scary Moth and a counter trap to back it up. Finally I want to show a way of using Cocoon of Ultra Evolution as an extender rather than just as a way to get out your boss monsters. You start off by link climbing as usual, getting out as many monsters as you can, searching a Battlewasp that can just summon itself, and then making PK Felena to again discard the counter trap. You equip Resonance Insect, tribute 1 to get an Insect Queen, then Resonance Insect searches Doomdozer. You then get to draw a card thanks to the Cocoon, and then summon the Doomdozer which triggers the Scale Moth. You then send Gokipole with the banished Resonance Insect to search an Aztekipede, and then shuffle 3 cards back to get to draw another card. I drew Beetrooper formation, so then I get to make the level 4, summon back the Link 2, tribute the Azteca bead that you just searched to search your counter trap, draw another card, then make a Seraphim Papillon. You can then bring back the Link 2 again to make another Link 2. In the end phase, the counter trap would set itself back. So you'd end with a negate, the protection of Insect Queen, a quick effect to revive one of your monsters with Seraphim Papillon, an Insect Shinobi's effect to special summon a monster if your opponent beats over your giant Beetrooper in battle. So basically more than enough effects to set you up for an 80k next turn. To be honest, I had many other replays. If I showed every single combination of things you could do as this deck, the video would be hours long. It's one of those fun decks that just lets you improvise with every new hand that you draw, and make slightly different endboards every time. I think with experimentation, this deck will get even better. And since it has another whole wave of support slated to come out fairly soon, we might get something like a Link 3 Beetrooper, or an alternate boss monster as well. And if that does happen, I think the deck will be a serious contender. Anyway, that's all for this deck. If you enjoyed it, please do the usual like and subscribe, and other than that, happy dueling!